Very good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to 8th Standard Science online class. Dear children, I hope you all are safe by staying in your home. And you are already watching all the videos, whatever the teachers sent to you. And you are understanding the concept, and I hope you are learning very well. Yes, children, in the previous class, we learned about the microorganisms and their characteristics of the microorganisms and their classification. Dear students, in this session also we are going to learn about more information about microorganisms, which means already we know that there are the majorly 5 components or the 5 classification types of microorganisms. So in that we are going to know about more information about the one by one sequentially. Yes, children, in the previous class we learned about the characteristics of microorganisms and its classification. Right? No. So just we are going to briefly revise these concepts. After the revision, we will be learn more information. So already we know that the characteristics of microorganisms. So microorganisms are very small organisms which cannot be seen through our naked eye. If you want to see the microorganisms means we have to use magnified glasses or microscope to observe the microorganisms. So we have to use magnifying glasses or microscope. The microscope is an instrument it will be used to observe the microorganisms or whatever the things that we cannot able to see through our naked eye. And then the microorganisms may be unicellular or multicellular. So unicellular means the organism having only one kind of cell. Multicellular means the organism having more than one cell. So in the microorganisms, we will be see both the kinds of characteristics. Either it is a unicellular or multicellular. Some of the microorganisms are unicellular and some of the microorganisms are multicellular. Which of the microbes belongs to unicellular group and multicellular group, that you will be discussed later. We will be discussed later. Then the microorganisms may exist in alone or in colonies. So which means the microorganisms that we will be observed in singly and as well as in a group also we will be identify the microorganisms. And the microorganisms are found in all kinds of environment. So all kind of environment we will be observe these kinds of microorganisms. Either it is a cold season also or the cold areas are there, whatever is there, or cold climate are there. So in that season or as well as in that cold areas also we will be identify the microorganisms. Not only the cold regions, even these microorganisms will be found out in hot areas also, desert areas also, marshy land also, water also, and wherever it will be. So which means they also find even these microorganisms will be found out in our body also. There is a huge amount of microorganisms, there is a huge number of microorganisms is present in our surroundings, and it will be acquired everywhere. We will be find out these microorganisms everywhere. These are the major characteristics of microorganisms. And then if you come to the types of microorganisms, so majorly 4 types of microorganisms that we will be identifying, that is bacteria, fungi, algae and protozoans. Even the viruses is also will be considered as a microorganism, and this cannot will be different from the other microorganisms. Why? Because they reproduces only when it is entered to any ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್. ಸೊ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಜೀವಿಯ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ದಿಸ್ ವೈರಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ reproducing and increasing its population. Otherwise, it's become death. So some of the examples also we are discussed. So now we are going to discuss about the more information about the microorganisms. See children, some of the microorganisms already we know that in the previous class I was given some few examples, right? So these microorganisms will be very helpful to or useful it will be the entire the microorganisms that has been classified into two categories, that is useful microorganisms and harmful microorganisms. How these microorganisms will be very helpful to us? See children, let us discuss it clearly. If just I will give one example now. If any one living organism become death is after the completion of his lifespan, that will become death, right? No. So after few days, what will be happen? Where the dead organism is present, that area is entirely, that organism become eaten, or there is a ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೊಳ್ತೋಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. It will become decomposes, right? How this decomposition will be takes place? Yes children, because of microorganisms. Because of microorganisms only. So which means just the microorganisms like bacteria, whatever, when the dead and decaying organism or anyone dead organism will be there, in that there will be growing of bacteria will be takes place. These bacteria will be decomposes the dead organic matters and it will be converted into humus, ಗೊಬ್ಬರ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆನ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. This will be helps to increase the fertility of the soil. It will be very helpful to increase the fertility of the soil. And some of the microorganisms helps in agriculture purpose also. For example, rhizobium bacteria. What is the role of rhizobium bacteria? Do you have any idea regarding this? Yes children, these microorganisms helps in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen into useful format. So which means, as we know that the plants have a capacity to absorb the water, sunlight and carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. Dear children, apart from this carbon dioxide, water and sunlight, some other nutrients is also required to the plants for the it will be utilized for growth and development. In that, the nitrogen is also one kind of a major required nutrients to the plants. But one thing you should remember, in the plants has a capacity to absorb the carbon dioxide, whatever the atmospheric carbon dioxide, which means whatever the carbon dioxide gas is present in the atmosphere, that will be absorbed by the plants. But as we know that the nitrogen is a most abundant gas that is present in our entire universe. But the plants doesn't have a capacity to absorb the nitrogen present in the atmosphere. Then how it will be utilizes? Yes, this rhizobium bacteria helps to absorb the nitrogen whatever is present in the atmosphere and fixes into useful format or nitrogenous oxides or nitrous oxides format. It will be converts the nitrogen into nitrates and it will be fixed into the soil. So after the fixation by the rhizobium bacteria, that fixed nitrogen will be utilized by the plants for their growth and development. The next one is, already I was given one example to you, that is conversion of milk into curd. See children, these microorganisms are used for making of curd from milk and as well as for making of cheese, pickles, bread, cakes, even in the extraction of alcohols, wines. So these microorganisms are very essential in even in the extraction of chocolates, cheese, bread mold or a bread extraction or alcoholic extraction or wine extraction. These microorganisms will play a major or vital role. And apart from this, the microorganisms are useful for making of medicines also children. So microorganisms will be very helpful for making of medicines also. So these medicines, whatever that is extracted from the scientist or whatever the medicines that is manufactured in a medical industry, that medicines also will be prepared by using the microorganisms as a raw material. How they will be used? So that we will be discuss later one by one, step by step. Okay, these are all the major importance or useful or friendly microorganisms that will be very helpful to us. Let us discuss that one by one. So even the making of curd from milk. See children, this is a bacteria. There is one bacteria that is, we call it as lactobacillus. This lactobacillus bacteria helps to convert the milk into curdling or milk into curd. Then making of bread. So there is a fungi that is called as yeast. So this yeast will be very helpful for manufacturing of bread. So what is the nature of the bread? It is a very too soft right now students. ಇದನ್ನು ಮುಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು ತುಂಬ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫೀಲ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ನೆಸ್. This softness will be takes place because of usage of yeast into the manufacturing of bread. And not only the manufacturing of bread, these microorganisms that we will be seen or that we will be observed in the making of alcohols also. Even here also yeast will be produces the sugar solution that will be converts into alcohol. This process what we call it as fermentation. So fermentation is nothing but the yeast that will be produces into sugar solution. So here ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲಿಕ್ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರೋವಂಥ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸ್ನ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಸೊ ಫರ್ಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಯೂಸಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್. ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಟ್ we will be use these microorganisms for manufacturing of medicines or making of medicines. Some bacteria and fungi are used to make the medicines which kill or stops the growth of disease causing microorganisms. Such medicines are called as antibiotics. Antibiotics. So some of the bacteria or fungi only will be used to make the medicines, or bacteria, whatever it may be, or viruses it may be, also will be used to kill or used to avoid the spreading of disease. So such a kind of medicines what we call it as antibiotics. For example, erythromycin is a kind of an antibiotic. Streptomycin, tetracycline, these are all the best examples of antibiotics. And upon not only the antibiotics extraction, these microorganisms that we will be identified in vaccines also. See children, in now it is in a pandemic situation, the government has been launched the COVID-19 vaccination. Right? So how the manufacturing of vaccinations will be takes place? Listen carefully. Whatever the disease causing agents are there, for example, if you take generally the COVID-19 virus only, that virus only, they will be, they will, in the laboratories, they will be kill the COVID-19 virus, and that is introduced to our body to produce antibiotics, or sorry, to produce antibodies. So vaccines are dead or weakened microbes introduced into the body to produce antibodies. Antibodies is nothing but the special immunity power that is present in our body. These antibodies protects our body or protects us from the various kinds of disease causing microorganisms like polio, cholera, typhoid, smallpox, chikungunya, hepatitis, even the COVID-19 can be. This will be prevented by the taking of vaccines only. So whatever the vaccines that is extracted in a laboratories, that is in the form of dead disease causing microorganism only. So even the COVID-19 vaccine is also extracted like that only. ಸೊ ಕೋವಿಡ್-19 ವೈರಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಆ ವೈರಸ್ನ ಕಿಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಡಿಗೆ ಇಂಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್. In that there is a various steps that is involved here, various procedure that is involved in the at the time of vaccination process. General procedure I am explaining that. So after the completion of injecting of weakened or killed disease causing agents to our body, so automatically our body immunity power become activated and that is ready to kill the whatever the disease causing agents enter to our body. So like this we can easily improve our antibodies, and these antibodies will be very helpful to protect us from the various kinds of disease causing microbes. So this is about the useful information regarding the eco-friendly microorganisms or useful microorganisms. See children, the next one is harmful microorganisms. See, apart from that, some useful microorganisms we are discussed right now. So some microorganisms also will cause us very harmful to us. Which are those? Let us discuss now. So what are the characteristics of these harmful microorganisms? See, some microorganisms causes the diseases in both the plants and as well as animals. Such a disease causing microorganisms, what we call it as pathogens. What we call it as pathogens. And some microorganisms grow in food substances and produce toxic substances and make as a food poisonous. Have you observing children? I will give one example now. When we kept any food particles for few hours, so we will be observed there is a bad smell on that. ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಫುಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ನ ನಾವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವು ದಿನಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಫ್ಯೂ ಅವರ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಎತ್ತಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್. Why this will be happen? Why this bad smell will comes from that food particles? Yes, because of growing of microorganisms in that food particles. So at the time of the growing, it will be produces or it will be produces some poisonous substances or toxic substances. These toxic substances only will be leads the producing of bad smell. When we consume this kind of a bad smell or a destroyed food, our body will be has a possibility to face lot of health issues. Even some of the microorganisms will be spoils the materials like cloths, leather, wood, etc. So we already know that these are the microorganisms characteristics of my harmful microorganisms. So and not only the other parts portions. So this some of the microorganisms will be causes the diseases also to us. So this disease causing microorganisms may enter through our body by the help of air, water, food, contact or entering of insects. So these microorganisms what we call it as pathogens. And one more thing, still children. So some of the diseases that will be spreads from one person to another person. This is what we call it as communicable diseases. And some of the diseases that cannot spread from or that cannot transmit from one person to other person. That what we call it as non-communicable diseases. Could you able to give some examples of communicable diseases? Cholera, common cold, chickenpox, tuberculosis. So these are all the some kinds of diseases that will be caused because of biting of insects, and it will be causes or transmission of diseases from infected person to healthy person. So housefly, mosquitoes, is the best disease spreading agents for the communicable diseases. So the next one is, so some of the best examples that you are observing here, female Anopheles mosquito and Aedes mosquito. So these are all the two kinds of mosquitoes that will be leads female Anopheles mosquito that will be causes the malaria, and female Aedes mosquito that will be leads the causing of dengue disease. Female Anopheles mosquito causes malaria and Aedes mosquito will be causes the dengue disease. So this will be or the communicable disease, either it is a dengue or malaria. These are the other some other diseases also there like chikungunya, smallpox, common cold. So these are all the communicable diseases that will be spreads from one person to other persons. Hope you understand, students. So this is about the brief information regarding harmful microorganisms. So in the next class, we are going to discuss about how the diseases will be spreads in the plants also. I hope you understand these are all the concepts in easy manner. So if you have any clarifications, must and should watch this video once again. After the watching of repeatedly watching of this video also, if you have any doubts, so you can call me or contact me at any time. I am always ready to clarify all your doubts. Thank you very much. Please stay home, stay healthy and be safe, my dear students. Thank you once again. Jai Shri Gurudev.